Welcome back to the channel. This is a upload from a channel named James Hoffman. Shout out to him. And this is tasting the Improbable coffee grown in the UK. Now, I definitely like my coffee. I'm gonna be honest. I like cold brews though, like iced coffee. I drink it about maybe 2 times a week. I enjoy it. It does. It like it soothes my soul. In a sense. Like it just feels like I'm just treating myself. So with that being said, we're smoking all my dragons, divine, righteous, almighty, greats, overachieving, never slacking, and I ain't gonna waste no time. Here we go.
Today, we have an absolute first for me. I'm going to taste something that I've never tasted before, something I didn't think I would ever get to taste. This is a small sample of coffee sent by the lovely people at Roastworks. They're a company, a UK roasting company out in the west of the UK, or in England more specifically. And Will and I had corresponded previously in the past because they roast on a specific kind of roaster called a GW Bath. They're pretty rare, there's not many of them around, and Square Mile used to roast on one of these. We don't anymore, but we did, and we talked a bit in the past. He very kindly sent me this coffee, which is coffee that is almost impossible to get any other way. This is coffee grown, harvested, processed, and roasted, all in the UK. The Roastworks sort of roastery, I guess, has a very old, I think 30-year-old coffee tree in there, originally from Ethiopia. And this year they tended to it a little bit more and they managed to get it to fruit. And that's generally very difficult to do. Coffee really wants to grow in a tropical climate. We'll talk more about that in a second. It's quite hard to get it to fruit in the UK, especially if it's indoors, but they succeeded and they got about 350 grams of cherries. They did 2 pickings, that was interesting, and they have, as a result, some washed coffee. They did it all themselves, that they roasted on a little ikawa. And some of it they very kindly sent to me. I didn't really get a choice, they just told me they were sending it, and I thought, well, I have to taste it here with you and to talk about it. I'll be honest, I've got 12.5 grams. It's enough for 1 cupping bowl. I can make no mistakes here. This is my one chance to taste this. I've seen one person before taste coffee in the UK. There's a kind of biodome thing down called the Eden Project, and they have previously harvested coffee there. A guy called Tristan Stevenson, who wrote a great book about coffee and many great books about cocktails. He harvested it once and managed to get something out of it. He wasn't very complimentary about it, but it's possible. And I've seen cherries in Kew Gardens. I don't think anyone's kind of processed them to the point where I could just open a bag, grind them and brew them and taste them. It smells pleasant, actually. It smells like coffee. It smells, not that unusual. It's kind of a sweet, kind of caramelly smell so far. It looks relatively dark as a roast for cupping. I think this is probably very difficult to roast. Coffee grown in the UK is likely to be relatively low in density. So in terms of roasting it, it's likely to kind of run away from you quite quickly and develop very quickly. Coffee grows well in high altitude because high altitude does a couple things. It gives you lots and lots of lovely sunlight, which is food for plants. That's great stuff. And then it gives you relatively cool daytime temperatures. It doesn't get too hot. And then relatively cool nighttime temperatures. And that swing between sort of warm days and cool nights is really important for the slow development of coffee fruit that leads to very dense seeds that tend to taste much better. And those cool nights are also a feature of, say, island coffees, places like Hawaii, for example, where you would expect that lower altitude to have warmer nights, but because you're surrounded by water, you tend to have a cooler evening because the sea, the water, cools things down a little bit more. This I expect to be relatively low density. They obviously tried to keep it cool at nights. They've got AC in their facility. So I have no idea how this will taste. So let's grind it, brew it, let's make a cupping bowl of it, and let's taste it. So we've got coffee, and it smells kind of interesting. Doesn't smell particularly fruity. Doesn't smell at all bad. It's kind of got a chocolate and almond smell right now that is very pleasant. And a little bit vegetably underneath though. So
I love that chocolate smell and the taste.
I don't know. So interesting, though. This is an Ethiopian coffee variety. I don't know which one. I don't think they know either, but I don't know if it's going to necessarily express that way, lacking the terroir, the soil, the climate.
One of my clients' husbands was just telling me how his daughter was in Kenya and they like picked so like it harvested and I don't it was she said it was the best coffee that she ever had. Like she could taste it in her dreams.
Ethiopia. You wouldn't think pouring water would be stressful, but where this is a single opportunity of my entire life, I feel like there's a bit of pressure. Just watch what I'm doing. And now to give it a smell. Still smells very pleasant. Still got that kind of slightly nutty, slightly kind of chocolatey, but more in that kind of Maillard reaction where things have gone brown and toasty, those kind of smells. Again, it looks just a little darker than I would typically have roasted a coffee for cupping or tasting like this, but I don't think that's unusual with such a kind of low density coffee that probably did just get away from them in the roast a little bit. But it's not roasty, it doesn't smell roasty necessarily, but I would say there's probably going to be a little bit less acidity in the cup than may have otherwise been there. So it's time to break the coffee. We've been steeping for about 4 minutes. I'm just going to stir the crust. It stops the brewing process, and there's often a release of aroma that's kind of interesting. So I'm going to smell that. Not hugely aromatic. What's there is pleasant, but it's not a big release and explosion of aroma that some coffees will absolutely give you at that moment that we call the break. The time has come to taste. I am very, very excited. This is such a rare opportunity, and I'm so sad I can't share this with other people, but here we go. Let's have a little taste. Have another little taste. Try not to slurp too loudly. Now that tastes a little bit more as I would have expected. What's smelled quite nice here, it had really nice kind of nutty, chocolatey tones. It had a little bit of a kind of a resinous aroma as well. But in the cup, what's missing is a couple of things that you really typically want in great coffee, and that is sweetness and acidity. Those two things are kind of dialed back. There's some texture to this coffee. It's got some body, it's got some mouthfeel, but it leads with that and a little bit more bitterness without the balance of sweetness and acidity. Much, much better than I thought it was going to be, if I'm honest. You know, the inside of a coffee roasting company in the southwest of the UK, that's not typically great terroir. You know, like you're not going to be excited for the taste of place on this one, but really interesting. It doesn't have those very citrusy, very floral notes that you tend to fall in love with those really great washed Ethiopian coffees, but it's not unpleasant. There is some kind of green vegetableness to it as well.
What did Willy Wonka make this coffee? Like all these different tastes, and see, he's a coffee expert. I'm still new. I still consider myself new to the game. I didn't grow up drinking coffee. It was like hot chocolates, stuff kids and we drink. But not as I got older. I want to say pretty much once I hit like my mid late 20s. Now being 31, I just enjoy it. It's just like I said, it soothes the soul for me. But I like the cold coffee. I like cold brews. That's my thing. So if y'all big on cold brews in the UK, then yeah, that definitely had me smiling.
A little bit like what I would call a green bell pepper. I think other people call capsicums. It has a little bit of that I don't really enjoy, but it is a very pleasant surprise. Really interesting and an absolute treat to taste something so rare, so improbable. You know what I mean? Like I just didn't think I would ever get to taste coffee grown, harvested, processed, roasted in the UK. What a generous gift from Will and the team at Roastworks. Thank you so much for just sending me this and not even asking if I wanted to taste it and just...
That definitely might be pointing at my theory of Willy Wonka creating this. He said, shout out to Will. Is there something that they're hiding?
I just didn't think I would ever get to taste coffee grown, harvested, processed, roasted in the UK. What a generous gift from Will and the team at Roastworks. Thank you so much for just sending me this and not even asking if I wanted to taste it and just just putting it in the mail. That was a very kind thing. Something I don't want to try and encourage too much. Please don't send me stuff. I have lots of stuff. But this, well, I'm very grateful that you did. So thank you. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, I want to learn,
Man, that's awesome when you could be so just abundant that you tell people don't send me nothing. I got lots of stuff. That's awesome. I like his glasses, by the way. Very stylish.
more about tasting coffee, I have good news. If you're watching this in the week or so after this video was published, then there's probably still time to join in on the world's largest coffee tasting. And this event I'm running, it'll happen on October 3rd at 3 p.m. UK time. You can pick up a kit. It's got 5 different coffees in there. We'll not tell you what they are till afterwards. A little grind sample to tell you how to grind it for cupping like this, and some third wave water so your water can be identical to mine, so that on the day I have the same coffees as you and we can share a tasting experience wherever you are in the world. Now, I'm actually going to give away 50 kits as part of this video because this video has an ad in it. And if you can't afford to buy a kit, they're £7 in the UK to be delivered, and they're not much more expensive to ship to other places. But if you really can't afford it, well, hang on and I'll tell you how to enter in a second. First, I want to talk about this video's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Now, it's very easy for me to talk about Squarespace because when it came time to build a website for the world's largest coffee tasting at worldslargestcoffeetasting.com, well, I immediately went and signed up and built a Squarespace website. I took one of their templates for an event and very quickly added my images, my words, my resources, and built a website that I think is beautiful, simple, and very helpful. And there's nothing really to worry about in terms of the upkeep. I can put a PDF file of how to taste on there and not worry if 10,000 people download it in a single hour. The website isn't going to fall over. I don't have to worry about patching, maintaining, installing stuff. It's always going to look good on any device, on any browser, and it's just taken care of. That is a huge deal to me. But don't take my word for it. If you want to try it out, click the link down below and sign up for a free trial. Build something. Create a beautiful website, and after 14 days when you're ready to launch, use code James Hoffman for 10% off any website or domain. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and enabling me to give away a bunch of coffee kits. So I have 50 available. There's a link down in the description. Just click it, enter. Please only enter if you really, really can't afford this. I want to make sure these go to people who otherwise couldn't participate. There are 50 to give away. I'll send them to anywhere in the world that I can easily send coffee, and I hope more people can join in and get access to this event. If you do want to join in and you can afford a little bit of money, we've tried to make it as cheap as we can. We'd love to see you join in and taste coffee with us on the day, or if you can't make it on the day, you can still cup along with the video and experience it as if it were live. Anyway, have you tasted coffee like this before? Have you ever tasted coffee grown in the UK? Is anyone out there who's achieved a similar feat? I would love to hear from you down in the comments below. Did this taste the way you thought it was going to taste? Again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Is there another weird part of the world that I should be seeking out coffee from, somewhere unexpected? Would coffee grown in France or Germany, would that taste any different? You can get coffee grown in the US and Australia, but what about, I don't know, Russia? Is anyone in Russia growing coffee? Let me know down in the comments below. But for now, I'll say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.
So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know much about coffee, but that's, if you want coffee, explained, that's definitely the guy to go to. He definitely breaks it down. He knows his coffee. I'm still convinced Willy Wonka sent him that coffee. It was like he was tasting. You remember when who was it? Was it Viola or something? Who was it that chewed the gum? I forgot. She was like a knucklehead, and she was like, "Oh, I taste this and this." Well, they were all knuckleheads except for Charlie, but you could just take it was crazy. It was like a roast beef dinner or something with the gum, and then she blew up and Violet, you're turning violet, and but listen, if you a coffee drinker and you had coffee in the UK, grown from the UK, processed in the UK, let me know what the big differences are. If you've had that, as well as obviously American or other coffee around the world, do you feel like UK's is top notch? Let me know. With that being said, original link in the description, and I'll be back more soon. Much love.